Welcome to the first episode of Uriah's Earth, where we explore the vastness array of planet Earth by telling you facts and then keeping you interested by telling jokes. Earth is the only planet to support life, and that life is a vast array of cuddly animals, strong-willed predators, weak-willed prey, ocean that runs as deep as poetry at an open mic night. Deep, but I have no idea what's going on and nobody's listening. Look at that, the ultimate jackass, Earth's jackass. Earth supports life. Even if that life is started after a one-night stand with a stranger, talk about nursing a hangover. Earth is the third planet from the sun, but don't tell it to the sun. The sun wouldn't know what the hell you're talking about and instead throw you in the ring of fire. Earth is the fifth largest planet in the galaxy and coming up on taking up fourth due to its intake of carbon. Talk about that, carbon footprint. Looks like you're gonna have to go to Payless Shoes, and guess what? You don't even have a stored credit card. That's not the only thing that's making Earth almost being the fourth largest planet. The Great Garbage Patch is increasing every day, and all you need to do is throw a piece of garbage into the ocean. The Earth is round because the galaxy loves to burn everything in the balls. So now you understand the gravity of Earth's balls. Let's look at all of this beautiful liquid. The Earth is 71% water, which means the glass is always more full regardless of even if you have a glass to cheers with. So cheers to that magnificent glittery blue ocean waves. You got ocean eyes, to quote the great late Billie Eilish, who was born in the Pacific Ocean. Today, we'll be showing you the vastness of the ocean, of just what's on the surface. Because we can't scratch the surface of the water, because the water is liquid, and even with this liquid, we wouldn't have the courage to scratch the water, because then we'd fall right in, and that would ruin all of our audio gear, and scratching the water would make me want to scratch a lottery ticket, which would send me right back to the casino where I gamble with somebody else's money, sending me to another depths of the ocean of despair. 94% of the Earth's wildlife is found in the ocean, and less than 0.5% of it is actually working as farmers. The rest are unemployed scumbags, eating food and swimming around having a good time. They call the school of fish, but they're not learning anything. They're just swimming around, wasting their life away. Lazy creatures that never know what it's like to be a farm salmon, or a farm shrimp, or a farm shrimp salmon. That's why most animals in the ocean never leave, because they are cowards that love not working. Finding Nemo? More like, get the out of here, Nemo, you welfare-sucking vampire of an orange fish. We don't have time to listen to your problems. I got my own problems with my gambling debt. There are 7 seas, which makes Las Vegas lucky, because if it had to deal with the lucky number of seas, they'd be swimming in the sea of death from all the card-counting swordfish that I would be acquiring to get my gambling debts paid once again. The 7 seas include the Arctic, the North Atlantic, the South Atlantic, the North Pacific, South Pacific, and the Southern Oceans. They don't get names, they're just the Southern Oceans, which makes them have less of a highlight of what they need to be. Maybe the Pacific Ocean feels like the Atlantic someday because it's as cold as ice. That's the Pacific Ocean. To be more specific, that's the Pacific Ocean near coastal British Columbia, my former home, and your former words that you just heard. The Pacific Ocean is much superior to the Atlantic Ocean. Just ask the salmon. Yeah, the Atlantic Ocean can suck my fin. This led to the Great Battle of the West Coast and East Coast swim game, changing both oceans forever, and that's why whale sounds sound so fun and different than the old school whale songs of before. According to National Geographic, don't worry, we'll leave out all the boring political science stuff, we'll leave that to the priests. The Pacific Ocean is the largest and deepest ocean on Earth. It spans 60 million square miles, which makes it pretty hip because it's hip to be square, and the Pacific Ocean has 60 million square miles of coolness, which will never be even a mile to fit in my book, and that makes it an amazing ocean, spanning from California to China and to Canada to China. And certain regions extend thousands of feet below the surface of water, making the Pacific Ocean one of the deepest to have a conversation with. Just don't look at your reflection on the surface. That's a conversation that may be too deep for the human condition to ever comprehend. So leave it to Nat Geo to tell me, to tell you what's going on. To get the sense of just how immense the Pacific Ocean is, you could put all of Earth's landmass together and the Pacific would still be larger. But that would be kind of a terrible thing to do to this Pacific Ocean. That's like putting cashmere on an inflatable mattress, and which is another case of all because you can do something doesn't mean you should. In fact, go ahead and take a time out on that air mattress and wake up deflated because there's a hole in your theory of the Pacific Ocean. No one's going to take the entire landmass of the world and put it in the Pacific Ocean. It's not going to happen. They're never going to get the Republicans and Democrats to agree to such a stupid thing, even though they're both stupid. But I'll leave the politics to the Church of New Science. The name Pacific is a version of pacify or peaceful because it loves that West Coast joints. It was named that by explorer Franz Ferdinand in 1520, right before he took you out to sail through a calm patch of water on the ocean. Despite its name, the Pacific is a vast body of water, teeming with activity. Much of the ocean is still waiting to be explored, what makes it much of the ocean is still waiting to be explored, which makes it a hard place to be a receptionist in the waiting room. That's a long wait, and there's only one magazine, and guess what? It's not a good magazine. It's Baseball Times yesterday. It's not even the Baseball Times of today. The vast body of water is home to some of the most unique forms of life on Earth and contains the deepest reaches known to mankind, all without doing psychedelics. Humans birth people that can lead to being emotional hurricanes when they reach any age. Just ask that to any parent. And the same can be said for the Pacific Ocean. The Pacific Ocean stirs up some of the strongest hurricanes ever seen or heard if you have eyes. For example, in 2018, the strongest storm of the year was Super Typhoon I can't say that word. I told you if it's gonna be some word like that, I'm not gonna be able to say it, guys. I'm just gonna keep going. In 2018, there's a super typhoon. And then I don't want to say that word because I don't want to butcher whatever that word is. If it's a culture, I don't want to go further white. Because if I get up more white privilege points, I'm gonna be gluten-free, and I love gluten, guys. It hit the Philippines in late September before dissipating over mainland China. At its strongest, the storm winds topped 165 miles an hour, uprooting trees, destroying homes, and causing deadly mudslides. Hurricanes, typhoons, and cyclones are actually different names for the same weather pattern, just some people identify with different patterns. Hurricane is used for the eastern Pacific, typhoon is for the northwestern Pacific, and cyclone for the southwestern Pacific. Now try to say that 5 times fast. I won't, because I don't want the ocean to come out of a mirror and kill me. The storms feed on the energy of warm water, making the Pacific a powerful breeding ground for them. Would have made it more sense to do the Boston Tea Party all the way over in the warmer water. That way, they could have reused that tea, and that way, the fish would have been happy as well with that nice, warm, lukewarm tea. We can't talk about the Pacific Ocean without talking about the Ring of Fire. And I'm not talking about an arranged marriage where even both sides of the family disapprove of the marriage. I'm talking about the Ring of Fire in the Pacific Ocean. Keep up, guys. I'm just the narrator here. I'm the only one that knows what's written, and I can barely write or talk myself. The Pacific Basin is called the Ring of Fire because of the area of earthquake and volcanic activity around its edges, and that's all without ever going to a Chipotle. The resulting chain of volcanoes is roughly 25,000 miles long and springs to life where the Pacific tectonic plate sides against or collides into other tectonic plates that circle it. But don't worry, it's still hip to be square, which means that with all the deep sea mining, overfishing, and human activity that's devastating to the Earth's currents, at any moment, the Ring of Fire and Mother Nature will have its last laugh, and that laugh will have some bass to it. Because I'm talking about a 69 magnitude in terms of funny. And that has been part 1 of the Pacific Ocean. There's so many words to describe this, but these are the words that unfortunately you heard today. So click that subscribe button, click that like button, because nobody's doing exactly what this is, because nobody says these words like Uriah says these words. So join us next time on Uriah's Earth, where we'll talk more about what actually lives in the Pacific Ocean, and that way we'll be more specific about the Pacific Ocean.